Hi everyone, Sharon's back and she's got a video she wants to make on these, I guess, the after effects of President Trump's speech. And so please tell us about that, Sharon.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Hi, everyone. My voice might still sound a little weak because I'm still a little weak, but I'm getting better every day. This starts out saying one person takes away from Trump's inauguration his speech about gangs, and then it's by Jean Rappaport, and I don't think that's a man, but it was for January 21st. I guess that's today. I could list two interesting things that Trump said yesterday, and of course, words aren't actions. Yet, but here is one remark you're not going to get, and never did get, from any recent president. Mothers and children trapped in poverty in our inner cities, and the crime and the gangs and the drugs that have stolen too many lives and robbed our country of so much unrealized potential. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. And just that little verse right there, everyone can imagine if they have any people in their lives, like grandchildren or children or brothers or sisters, that are on heroin and hooked on heroin. I just want to say that's from the CIA that brought it over here and put it on the street. They happened to land in Arkansas, and they are using military airplanes to bring it over here. And the Bushes and the Clintons and the Obamas that, thank God, are already gone. I never thought I'd ever see the day. It's been since 1985. Okay, how many kids have been born between then and now? They don't even know what it was like before these crooks took over. They don't know that there wasn't drugs like this all over the place. They didn't know that every girl didn't go in and get an abortion. They didn't know. And when mothers and children were trapped in poverty in the inner cities in those days, they had more help. There wasn't so many gangs that feel helpless because of the drugs that the government brought into our streets and gave to our kids and even took them to the schools. And I personally have a grandson who is lost in heroin. And it is sad. And it happened ever since he was like 11. They brought it to the schools. So that's what's really caused all of this. But and all the years of like Trump said, all those people that were sitting behind him, all those presidents from the past, I looked at them, they were ashamed of themselves. And they should be. Because they have just about made our world so bad that we can't bring it back to where it's supposed to be. And then another thing that's really bugging me is this Women's March. Well, this person here talks about it too. But I'll just go on reading until we get there. It was militant and it was dark. The crime, the gangs, the drugs, this American carnage. Disarray, I don't know what they're trying to say, it's not the right word. Decay. You can't imagine the outgoing president giving a speech like that. Well, no, Obama was sitting there. I seen him take a big, deep breath a couple times because he knew he was wrong. And I think he was wishing, and even though he's a puppet and he was told what to do, I think he was wishing that he could have stood up there and said those things, even though the man couldn't, and he didn't even have a real wife. It was a man. And That's another lie that he went into the presidency with. Not only a non-birth certificate that was real, he took a woman in there and told us it was a woman, and he had two girls that he pretended to have, and it was really a man, and the two girls weren't even his. And we lived with that for 8 years. It's like ridiculous. Okay, so she's right, because the outgoing president would never have stopped the carnage. If she thinks Trump's language was too militant, she should try talking to the mothers who live in those inner cities, who are trapped and held in hostage by the gang members, who want a nation of laws and can't find a way to live safely with their children. They were probably raped by the gangs, and that's why they have the children. Eating Obama's high-flying, empty rhetoric. I don't know how that goes with it, but Obama somehow managed to spend 8 years in the White House and never mention with any significance anything about gangs. 8 years and nothing. Yet he was the one who was going to rescue America's inner cities. Find an inauguration speech by any recent president in which the words gangs appears. Is the whole point of being presidential in avoidance of stark realities? Is that what all of Rachel Meadows wants? They're not giving in to those neighborhoods. They're not giving anything to those neighborhoods. They're not up against the gangs and the crimes and the drugs every day and every night. Hell no. All they do is call the cops, call the National Guard. Everybody will just come and keep them away from the White House. Just keep those creeps away from the White House. It will be just fine. That's how they live. And I bet you that none of them, not one of them, that were all dressed up in that White House for that inauguration and that fancy dinner, even that pedophile Hillary Clinton, the child killer that people keep not mentioning, the child trafficking, all the money she made off of killing kids and eating them and giving them to these rotten, ugly old men that are calling themselves politicians to go screw. I'm telling you the truth. I'm not going to talk about how she all the stupid other things that she didn't do. This is the worst thing she ever did, and nobody's talking about it. When they talk about her, they should say pedophile. And they talk about her husband, they should say pedophile. They shouldn't say the Speaker of the House or the last president they don't even deserve to have any of those names. They are a piece of shit. Did Obama form a plan and put it into action? Did any federal legislator or bureaucrat raise hell because gangs are controlling the large swaths of the inner cities? And I know they've ruined factories and a lot of other things. Did you see how they broke all those windows? That's what they like to do. Did any major news outlet pound on this story month after month? Guess what? When you add up guns, crimes, killings, maimings, and drug overdoses in the cities across America, you come to the door of gangs. That's a shocking revelation millions of Americans already understand. But for some reason, presidents are clueless. Well, I'll tell you something else about this. It isn't just the presidents that are clueless. It's the people that live in the city, too. They just sweep the dirty people out of the way. They made it against the law that you can't even feed the homeless anymore. They took blankets away from them this winter. I don't know how much worse this world can look than it looks right now. And it isn't just the president. It starts at home, people. How many people at that inauguration dinner ever gave anything to a homeless person or a sick person or a lost person? When they eat kids, what do you expect? And how can all these women 200,000 women march complaining about Trump, and so crying because they didn't get the kid killer, the Hillary, the freak. Who in the world could think that they'd want the freak killer instead of Trump? Okay, Trump has so far done good things. He's doing them because he has to, but he's doing them. I don't care why he does them. I just want this shit cleaned up. I want the gangs cleaned up. I want the buildings cleaned up. I want the mothers and the kids to have decent homes, and so does he. And these women that are marching say they don't have any freaking rights? You want me to tell you something, you young girls? You don't even know what it's like to live when it's peaceful. You don't even know what it's like to have a man treat you like a gentleman. You don't even know what it's like to be a lady, because all you worry about is equality. Well, you know what you did with your equality? You took the mothers out of the homes. So the little kids didn't have anybody to raise them. And that's why there's so many of you. Because none of you say you want to be progressive and you don't want to go backwards? Hell, if you was ever back in the 60s, you'd be thanking God that you were there. You don't even know what it was like. It was nice to be able to walk down the street and not have to worry about being mugged or raped. It was nice to have a family to go home to after school. It was nice to have home-cooked dinners. It was nice to not go to a home child care place where nobody knows you and nobody gives a shit. It was nice. My mom used to say in the morning, when we go play, you guys just be home before dark. That's how safe it was. You people don't have a clue of what real life with freedom is. Because you've been raised in daycares. You've been raised without your mother that had to go out and pay for your fancy clothes so you could be treated right at school. Or so she could drive a nicer car so nobody'd make fun of you. Or so that you wouldn't get bullied because you'd have the best of everything. Well, you know what? That materialism is what ruined the world. It ruined the world. Because before that, when people didn't have lights, and they didn't have telephones, and they didn't have TVs, and they didn't have fancy cars, the family was lucky to have one car, and they all shared it. And you know what? They were a real family. They were together. They even went out to dinner together. They went for rides together. Do any of you ever have a family like that now? None of you. You're all in your different rooms with your computers and your cell phones. You don't love anybody anymore except your cell phone. So of course you're marching. What more equality do you want? Do you want to dress like a man? Some of you do. Do you want to be a man? What the hell are you fighting for? You should be fighting against this shit. You know why you're not. I know why you're not. You're just like my daughters and my kids. They never knew what it was like to have real freedom. They never knew what it was like to be able to walk for miles away from your house and feel safe and still get back home at night and not have to worry about not talking to strangers. Well, I'll tell you something, people. There were creeps back then, too. I was kidnapped from kindergarten, but luckily the man didn't do anything to me. I was watched by God. I know I was. Because my mom told me she never told any man to pick me up. But some man did. And it did happen once in a while. But when it did, the whole damn town knew about it. And they all looked for the SOB. Nowadays, there's millions and millions of little kids that have disappeared. Has anybody even talked about that? I mean, sure, you read something once in a while about it, but it's not as important as all the other stuff we're all worried about right now, like money for one thing. We shouldn't. That's not even as. It doesn't even come close to these little kids having to go through this torture, or the women that have to be raped by these freaks, or all these new religions that are coming in now saying that you can marry a little girl that's 4 years old. Come on. Get off of it. Or get the hell out of our country. Because you know what? We're never going to accept you. And I don't care what religion you are. You want to screw little kids? You shouldn't even be able to screw an animal. You're so sick. Somebody should cut your thing off. Should be castrated. And that's how I feel. And you stupid women that are out there marching, you don't even know what the hell you're marching for. Trump never said nothing about taking away any women's equality. The only people that you got to complain about that to are the Bushes and the Clintons and the Obamas. And they're gone. So who are you going to complain to now? You just going to march for nothing? Just for no reason? Oh, that's really smart. Or were you one of some of the ones that got paid $2,400 to go out and do it? Well, you're just making me sick. I'm going to continue reading here. Offended liberals take umbrage at his remarks, but as usual, they prolong declination and destruction. These words, decimate, I don't know, some of these words aren't spelled right, and destruction. And they take the opportunity to fly their useless banners of care and concern and opt for solutions that aren't solutions. They want to look and sound good. Okay? How many of you women marching are out there trying to feed the hungry or help the little kids that don't have enough? How many of you? Or are you just out there worried about your own concerns and your own care and your own solutions? Well, you're not going to get it from everybody else. You know what? It starts at home. Take care of yourself and take care of other people and do humanitarian things. It don't cost you nothing to volunteer to help people. Get that in your mind instead of all this other shit. And after all, they wanted to select a president who played a major role in destroying an entire country for no reason. Libya, that was what's her name? The kid killer, and they didn't even blink at the horror that wasn't on their radar. That hasn't much. That's how much they really care. And then it says, if tomorrow, by some miracle, all the gangs in America disappeared, which I hope they do, if they don't shape up and get out of it by themselves, I hope they are taken off this planet. Or whatever has to happen. And the communities that they ruled came back to life. Liberals would find a way to be offended. Offended. The people in this world are so freaking weird now, I don't even know where the hell I live anymore. They would yell and scream because some injustice hadn't been addressed, because some reparation hadn't been made, because they have an interminable itch that can never be scratched out of existence. That's what it's come to. Everybody wants to go out and cause trouble with all these stupid protests and be paid by Soros. Why in the hell aren't you dead, Soros? If anybody's going to put a hit out on people, why don't we all put our money together and put a hit on him? My God, can't you tell the difference between good and bad anymore? You want Hillary and Soros and Kissinger? You want all them? You guys are weirdos. The author of 3 explosive collections, The Matrix Revealed. This is a man, a person, I don't know if it's a man or woman, that wrote this. He wrote, or she wrote, The Matrix Revealed, Exit from the Matrix, Power Outside the Matrix. And thank God, because we need to get outside of this spider web that they have webbed amongst, in between, and around and through our whole life. So people, please, the ones that have the strength to speak up and the ones that have the guts to stand up and look at these people and say, who in the hell are you? And what are you doing in our world? And that's what needs to happen. And these marches are stupid. Stupid. Go home and take care of your kids. How about that little boy that was 9 years old at the inauguration that was starting fires? And when the camera came up to him, he smiled and said, well, I just say screw Trump. Well, I wonder if his parents put him up to that. He's the one that started a fire. They probably told him to start a fire so he wouldn't get in trouble. So they wouldn't get in trouble. He wouldn't get in trouble, but so they wouldn't get in trouble. And I hope that family does get in trouble because that little kid's face is all over the internet. So I hope they find his parents, and I hope they put him in jail. And I hope they put the kid somewhere where he can be raised by civilized people. Civilized. It seems like a lot of our people have turned to animals. What in the hell is your problem? And the rest of you that are good people, you better start saying something and doing something, because if you don't, you're just going to be one of the victims. We have to help Trump clean this world up. He can't do it by himself. And I hope every one of you are going to start tomorrow or today and do at least one thing for another human or even an animal that's good. Because I don't see hardly any of that anymore. And I'm getting really, really sick of it. And I am pissed. And I'm pissed that all those women that are marching are women. And I'm sorry, I'm one of them. I'm sorry I'm a woman. They make me embarrassed to be a woman. You know what? I was thinking the other day, and this is to the women that are my age. Back in the 50s and 60s, when we were teenagers, and when we were young girls, not young girls, but when we got to be teenagers, this might sound silly to you guys, but I bet it don't to the people that are my age. Do you remember when you used to get dressed up and walk down the street with your girlfriends, giggling and having fun, not worried about anything? Remember when the boys would drive by in their cool cars and they'd whistle at you? Didn't that make you feel good? How come we all giggled and smiled and laughed about that? How come it didn't scare us? No, we weren't worried about men in those days because the boys in those days would have got the belt on their ass if they would have acted ungentlemanly to women because they had dads that were gentlemen and they weren't afraid to spank their kids. I got the belt a lot of times, and I'm glad I did. And when I talked back to my mother, I got slapped so fast you couldn't see her hand coming. And I'm glad I did, because I would never want to be like you guys. Never. The women that are marching, you make me sick. And you're marching with your kids, which makes me even sicker. And I don't care how mad you all get, and I don't care if you all want to come at me, because I'm ready for you. And I've been thinking this for a hell of a long time. You don't even know what fun is. I hope someday you're lucky enough to find it, or at least see it, or at least hear about it. Because you don't even know what progression did to you. And that's all I'm going to say today. And I'm sorry I came on so strong. I'm not sorry I said what I said. I hope I didn't offend any of you. I know the good people I didn't offend. And the rest of you, I probably really don't care. But thank you, Gary, for letting me rant. And I hope everybody hears it.
It's wonderful to hear you, Sharon. And it's wonderful that you stand up for what you really believe and you voice what you believe. And everybody knows you say it with emotion, and you say it with meaning. And everybody knows exactly where you're coming from because it's coming from your heart, and everybody can see it. And it's truth. It's just absolutely the truth, the way it is. And you've stated things that other people don't talk about, but really, we all know it's the truth. We've lived through it. We were, we remember all the time when it was peaceful. We remember when there was no checkpoints, nothing necessary for anything.
There was one cop in the town.
Right.
One cop at a time.
Most people never ever locked their doors.
No, we didn't lock our doors. We didn't lock anything. And if anybody needed help, they got help. We didn't have to lock it. They didn't have to steal.
Right. We all watched out for each other. We all knew each other.
That's what I want back. I want the 60s back. And you people that are saying you don't, it's because you haven't been there.
Well, thank you so very, very much, Sharon. That was a great message, and we're looking forward we're so glad that you're back health-wise, and we're just going to be looking forward to more messages from you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
I'm just a bulldog.
Right, you sure are. Thank you so much.
Pit bull or something, I don't know what. But you gave me this strength. I'm not afraid of anything.
I know that. That's pretty evident. God bless you, Sharon, and thank you so much.
Thank you, and God bless all you.
Yes.
Oh, and I hope something I say matters.
It does. You're going to reach a lot of people, and you're going to get a lot of comments, both good and bad, but you're going to get a lot of them.
Good and bad, well, whatever they're mixed.
That's right. Anyway, thank you so much, Sharon.
Thank you, and thank you, everyone. I miss you.
Thank you. We missed you too, Sharon. Bye-bye.
Bye.